All right, students, we're going to go through some Earth system notes together. If you go to Google Classroom, you should find a copy of the Earth system notes. It's blank. I want you to fill these in as we go over them together. I know we're not in class. Sorry, I'm not there today. But I want you to fill the answers in as we go over. You'll probably have to open them in Kami. And when you do, please fill in the information. Just watch this video. And then I'll tell you what to do once we're done. So let's get started. These are the Earth system notes. And hopefully you've already gone to Google Classroom and you've gotten some other notes out and ready. You will probably have to pause this video at some point to fill in some information. Let's get started. So far, we need to know that the Earth is a system. The Earth system is a system or a group of parts that work together as a whole. So when you think of different systems, there's like the judicial system. And when you think of the different parts of the judicial system, there are the courts, there's the jails, there's the police officers. All that stuff makes up the judicial system. And if we're thinking on a larger scale, even nationally, we can think of like the Supreme Court and stuff like that, which is kind of big news right now. Or if we think of the school system, what are some parts to a school system? The students are a part of the school system. The building is a part of a school system. The administrators, the teachers, all those different things are part of the system. They all work together to a whole, to one larger thing. And also when you think of like the digestive system's got the stomach, it's got the intestine, it's got the mouth, the tongue, the uvula, the little hangy ball thingy in the back. It's got all those different parts, and that all makes up the digestive system. So the system is all those different parts that are working together. Let's keep going. So Earth as a system, there is a constant flow of matter through Earth systems. The flow of matter is driven by energy. Which is the ability to do work. Remember, you guys are filling in that online thing, and when you're filling in that online thing, you should have read that energy is the thing that makes all the systems go in the Earth. And there's matter that's constantly flowing through all that. Let's continue. Earth's energy can come from the sun, or it can come from inside the Earth as it cools. So we get a lot of outside energy from the sun, and it warms the Earth. It causes the water cycle to move around because there's heat moving the water around, making evaporation and condensation and wind and all sorts of good stuff like that. But also there's heat from the inside of the Earth. Think of volcanoes and stuff like that. The heat inside the Earth is coming out, and that is what's cycling some matter through that system. So heat from outside the Earth and heat from inside the Earth. Let's keep going. There are 4 parts of the Earth system, and you should have read this last week in your textbook when you guys are on the swing set figuring some stuff out. First off, there's the atmosphere. The atmosphere, it's a relatively thin layer of gases around the Earth. You guys know what the atmosphere is. I think last year in 7th grade you talked about the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. You went through all those different spheres, and it seems like the atmosphere is really, really big. But in the grand scheme of things, no, it's not. The atmosphere for our planet is pretty thin. There's not much to it. But that is part of the Earth system, is the atmosphere. Let's continue. Then there's the geosphere. The geosphere, geo meaning Earth, and sphere, round, of course. So it's the layers of the Earth and the materials that compose them. So if you look down here in this picture, the rest of this chapter, we are going to go through all the different layers of the Earth. So the inner core, the outer core, the mantle, and we'll also talk about the crust. And in the grand scheme of things, I mean, look at this. The crust is really, 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 really thin. And no human has ever drilled past the crust, even into the mantle. So there's so much to the geosphere that we don't know that we're still trying to figure out. But hopefully you're writing these things down in your notes because I don't know, maybe when I come back, I'll ask you to turn in your notes with Kami. Sounds like a good thing. Hydrosphere. The hydrosphere, hydro meaning water, sphere, round. It's all the water in and around Earth. That's including lakes, streams, rivers, clouds, and one thing that people often overlook, which is groundwater. So there's groundwater underneath Cedarville. There's tons of groundwater under Ohio. So you dig a well. If you've got a well at home, there's groundwater available to you, and that is part of the hydrosphere. And lastly, there is the biosphere. The biosphere is all the parts on Earth that contain life. And when you think about it, there's a lot of life on planet Earth. There's Earth in the crust, worms, bugs, all sorts of stuff. There's worms in the atmosphere. Well, not worms, I'm sorry. There's living things in the atmosphere. There's things on the Earth. There's plants. All that stuff together makes up the biosphere. And those 4 spheres make up the Earth system. So we talked about systems, and the Earth system is made up of those 4 spheres. Let's continue. So let's talk about feedback. Feedback's kind of a weird thing, and it's kind of confusing to some people. There's a video that you guys will be watching after this with feedback. So feedback within a system. Feedback demonstrates how changes in one part of the Earth system may affect the other parts. So yeah, this is kind of an odd picture when you think about it. But feedback is basically getting out what you put in. With a computer, there's feedback. You put in information, and it spits out information at you. In this case, with this picture, you can see one person is eating healthy, and they're exercising. So they're putting in good stuff. And what are they getting out? Trim, fitness. So what you put in equals what you get out. And then you see someone eating some McDonald's and some French fries, and what you put in is also what you get back. That is feedback. And it's also the same thing with the microphone. You're putting in certain sounds, and you got the microphone in front of a speaker. The speaker makes sound into the microphone, which makes the microphone loud, which puts it in the speaker and then goes back out. And it's just kind of a loop. So the Earth is the same way. The Earth has a feedback loop as well. And many would argue when it comes to like global warming, we are putting lots of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, so we will get greater heat. So that's part of a feedback loop in the Earth system. There are lots of feedback loops in the Earth system. And I'll have that video for you guys to watch in a little bit, so that'll be part of your next assignment. But feedback, it's in all parts of Earth. Let's continue. Now it's time to talk about constructive and destructive forces. You guys should have read about this also when you were doing your, I forget what that assignment was called, the directed reading thing. Constructive forces shape the land surface by building up mountains and other land masses. If you just hear the root word there, construct, to build up. So constructive forces, if you look at this little animated GIF, look, we're building mountains. We're building the land up. Constructive forces build the land up. And what's building the land up mostly? Volcanoes can build up the land. They can also tear down the land, so it's kind of both. But usually plate tectonics is tectonic plates move together. It's building up the land. So our next chapter is all about plate tectonics. But you just need to know right now that one of the major constructive forces is plate tectonics. And there's a picture here of like pieces of paper being pushed together, causing mountains to build, and that would be a constructive force. If you look at these next 2 pictures right here, here's India, and what is this? Nepal right along here. So we've got one large tectonic plate crashing into another. From a satellite view, this is India, and Nepal's right here, and these 2 tectonic plates are crashing into each other. It is constructive forces. They're crashing, constructing into each other, and look what it's making. It's making this mountain range. It's making the Himalayas right here. So this mountain range, if you look right around there, you can say hi to Mount Everest. Hi, Mount Everest. So it's part of a constructive force. Tectonic plates, building the land up. And if there's constructive forces, that also means that there are destructive forces. Destructive forces destroy and they wear away land masses. through a process like erosion and weathering. If you think back to 6th grade, we spent an entire chapter on erosion. And then we spent an entire chapter on weathering. You guys should know what erosion and weathering are. And they're both destructive forces. Remember, weathering is breaking rocks apart. You can have mechanical weathering. You can have chemical weathering. Some mechanical weathering can be things like root wedging or animal actions or temperature changes or ice wedging. The ice gets in there and breaks it apart. Those would all be good examples of mechanical weathering. Remember, there's chemical weathering like oxidation, or oxygen reacts with things, or maybe water dissolving stuff. So that would be a good example of chemical weathering. Here's some results of weathering. Take a look. We've got these arches here. That's on the 6th grade textbook. Maybe it's on, no, it's on the 6th grade textbook. That rock that's split in half. Moby, he's all upset about a crack in the sidewalk. And then there's erosion. Erosion is also a destructive force. Erosion is the process of moving rocks, weathered rocks, from one place to another. So you can see whoever built their house right here, there's probably a lot more oceanfront here at one point. But because of erosion, it is a destructive force. It is carrying away all that rock and sediment to a new location. So now you know about the 4 spheres that make up the Earth's system. You know about constructive forces. You know about destructive forces. And you should also know a little bit more about feedback loops. Sorry I'm not there to discuss all this stuff with you. Thanks for watching.